You're not going to take this seriously. You could step down. I was at a crucial competition that would determine my boss's promotion. However, just as we were about to begin, the computer malfunctioned. This presentation required a speech in English. Even though everyone knew the content by heart, delivering it in English without a script was a different story altogether. My boss desperately pressed the power button repeatedly while pleading. I apologize. Just a moment, please. The client stood up impatiently.
We don't have time to waste on companies that can't even handle basic presentations.
My boss's shoulders slumped. This couldn't continue. Though I was known as the unmotivated employee, I made up my mind in this emergency. I'll do it. I stepped up to the podium. Clients looked at me with exasperation, but the moment I opened my mouth, I had everyone's attention. And that was the moment my stagnant life began to change dramatically. My name is Ryan Parker, 35 years old. I'm an ordinary office worker at a travel agency. Our company plans package tours both domestically and internationally, making our workplace quite diverse in terms of business partners, colleagues, and customers. Being able to experience international cultures while staying in America is one of the best parts of this job. Though I work at such a company, I'm not particularly outstanding in my job. Sure, the work is enjoyable, and it's a fantastic company that provides constant stimulation, but I have no desire for promotion. I'm content maintaining my current position. My peers keep getting promoted one after another. Some have even risen to assistant director positions, and while I'm generally happy for them, I don't feel envious. I know there's talk behind my back about my refusal to take promotion exams and my persistence in staying in the same position. Some younger employees who don't know me well speculate that I'm still an entry-level employee because I'm incompetent, or that I lack motivation. There's no shortage of gossip about me. While it's not pleasant, the fact remains that I've chosen to stay at my current level. I pretended not to hear the gossip, and found it too troublesome to correct them. Despite all this, the company remained meaningful to me. In April, during the transfer season, new members joined our office from other branches. Among them, Sarah Mitchell particularly stood out. Sarah, who transferred from a neighboring state's branch, was a beautiful woman who looked younger than her age, and was such a capable supervisor that she handled international client relations. She was truly flawless, treating all employees equally. She was apparently sent here as a candidate for store manager. The transfer was meant to position her for promotion. One day, while checking documents, I found a discrepancy. I couldn't find a hotel's name and address listed in our tour on their website. Strange. It was in our internal survey list. Checking the hotel's company website, I discovered they had recently relocated. Since Sarah had created the proposal, I approached her quietly with the documents. Miss Mitchell, about this hotel. Sarah blinked, then checked the same page herself. You're right. Thank you for catching that. No problem. I'll update the internal list later. Please do. Now about finding a replacement hotel. This location is too far away. What about this one? She opened another hotel's website and showed it to me. As we looked at the computer together, something caught my eye, and I pointed it out. This might not fit our tour's concept. The descriptions emphasize luxury too much. You're right. What about this one then? This hotel could work. They even have a 3-month discount campaign running. Oh, you're right. Good catch. Wait. Sarah stopped me mid-sentence and turned to me. With a more surprised expression than before, she tilted her head. Ryan, we were just having a normal conversation, right? Yes. You followed everything I was saying? Not remembering any particularly difficult discussion, I nodded honestly. It was just hotel hunting. But all the websites were in French. Yes, they were. Yet you could read them and notice all these details? In our line of work, that's pretty normal, isn't it? I somewhat understood what Sarah was getting at. These days, people don't usually make a big deal about someone being able to read English websites fluently, especially not in a travel agency. However, all the websites we had been looking at were in French. So you know French? I just majored in it in college. I can only read it, nothing special. Are you sure? These websites, they use some pretty complex expressions. You can read them too, right? More importantly, what should we do about the proposal? Should I handle the modifications? Oh, yes, if you wouldn't mind. I'll take care of it. I bowed slightly and we quickly returned to my desk. Sarah seemed about to say something more, but another employee approached her, preventing any further questions. Later, my branch office was selected to participate in a competition. While a company's headquarters naturally participates in competitions, our system allows branch offices to pitch and sell their own proposals. Sarah was chosen to launch a proposal representing her branch. Needless to say, this would significantly impact her career advancement. I was included in the project team, probably because my ability to read French had been exposed during our recent interaction. I didn't think I could be of much help, but requesting to be removed from the team would draw unwanted attention. This competition wasn't even for a French tour, so I didn't expect to have any major responsibilities. Resigned to my fate, I I attended the internal meetings for the competition. One day, I'd go on a business trip related to the competition. Sarah, still suspicious about my abilities, made me accompany her. Reluctantly arriving at the client company's waiting room, I encountered a familiar face in the lobby.
Well, if it isn't Ryan.
Mr. Foster? The man in the expensive suit was a senior colleague from my previous company. Derek Foster nodded pleasantly to both Sarah and me.
What a coincidence. You're in sales now, Ryan?
Yes, glad to see you're doing well.
Well, things were tough after you left, you know.
Ah,
I'm not trying to blame you. You helped me a lot back then. Are things going well at your new company?
yes, thankfully.
Good to hear. You're always welcome to come back if anything happens. Everyone would welcome you.
Thank you. I made sure my face didn't twitch as I gave neutral responses to Derek's words.
Being here means your company's also participating in the Rose Group competition.
Yes,
Having you as a rival is troublesome.
Derek said this jokingly before being called away by the coordinator. Sarah watched me curiously as I relaxed my shoulders. Was that man from your previous company? Yes, he was my senior. I see. Seems like he relied on you quite a bit. I suppose so. My response came out a bit sharp, and I quickly shut my mouth. Sarah seemed to be trying to understand that meaning behind my words, but I kept deflecting vaguely. That day's meeting with the client went well, and upon returning to the office, Sarah immediately immersed herself in preparation for the competition. Though she was my supervisor, she wasn't much older than me, yet I found it strange how she tackled such big responsibilities. Sure, promotions mean better pay and recognition, but she already held a high position. I couldn't understand the merit in working so frantically, whether it was a strong sense of responsibility or simply enjoyment. Either way, her behavior was beyond my comprehension. I'd seen other employees swamped with work trying to meet deadlines many times, but I couldn't grasp what drove her, someone who already had prestige and wealth. Miss Mitchell? I called out to Sarah, who was still working past regular hours. What is it? It's past closing time. She looked around surprised. Apparently, she hadn't been watching the time. Oh my, I didn't notice. Thank you, Ryan. Are you heading home? Well, I have something I'd like to ask. What is it? This might be rude, but how can you work so hard? I mean, you didn't have to take on this competition, right? You're handling other work too. Even without this, promotion shouldn't be difficult for you. You're right. Sarah pulled out the chair next to her. She was gesturing for me to sit. After I sat down, she showed me her personal smartphone. It displayed numerous photos of a little girl with what appeared to be her parents. This is me. Really? My parents love traveling. It took me to so many places. Indeed, the backgrounds in the photos varied greatly. Vast landscapes, historic buildings, sometimes even rare animals appeared with them. I also traveled with relatives and later with friends in college. Even now I travel often. Every travel memory is my precious treasure. They all look like fun times. They were. Traveling is so wonderful. That's why I got into this job. I want people to enjoy their travels even more than they expect. I'm not working hard for promotion or recognition. To help people enjoy their travels more. For that reason? Yes. Of course position matters. After all, having authority makes it easier to get proposals approved, right? Sarah smiled and showed me the proposal she was working on. It prominently featured photos of a beautiful ocean and ships. Travel should be enjoyable. Just imagining people having the time of their lives on my tours makes me so happy. She spoke with sparkling eyes, showing no signs of fatigue, completely absorbed in her work. She takes genuine pride in her work. I also love traveling. Your tour proposal? I'm sure customers will love it. Hearing that really motivates me. Sarah rolled up her sleeves and turned back to her computer. When I offered to help, she showed me the competition script written in English. I'm trying to figure out how to best convey my highlighted points. Mind if I get your opinion? Sure. Let's see. This expression might need to be softer. It makes sense to Japanese people, but it might not resonate with foreigners. How about this? Should I change this part too? You have a point. And so the hunter became the hunted. I ended up working overtime too, completely losing track of time. For me, who had always done just enough to get by, this might have been the first time I became so engrossed in work. Needless to say, Sarah's influence played a part, but I realized it might be worth looking beyond just my abilities and evaluations to see the bigger picture of our work. Finally, the day of the competition arrived. We were 5th out of 5 companies. While the tension would last until the very end, Sarah was not only maintaining her composure, but also studying other companies' presentations. Following her example, I paid attention to the presentations too. When it was finally Sarah's turn, she stepped up to the podium and placed her laptop on the desk. We were waiting for a company logo to appear on the right screen, but after about a minute, we noticed something was wrong. On stage, Sarah was frantically hitting the keyboard. I apologize. Please wait a moment. A senior colleague went to check on Sarah.
Miss Mitchell, what's wrong?
The computer won't work. It was fine just before. I'm trying to restart it.
It's not turning on.
Can someone get the backup computer? I was holding Sarah's belongings and quickly brought the spare laptop to the stage. However, that one wouldn't turn on either. We had confirmed it was charged and checked it beforehand. Since it wouldn't even power on, it didn't seem to be a connectivity issue. Maybe we should go back to the office to get... I blurted out in panic. A senior colleague shot down the suggestion since we obviously wouldn't make it in time, but even that brief exchange was costly. Sarah preferred to keep her scripts on the computer rather than printing them. Even if we had printed copies, giving a tour presentation without nothing on screen would be ineffective.
Excuse me, is everything alright?
The coordinator approached with concern. While we were explaining about the computer issues, an executive-looking man in the front row crossly declared while crossing his arms.
That's enough. If you're not going to take this seriously, you can step down.
Please, just a moment more.
A company that can't even handle a basic presentation. We have 4 other companies to choose from. Mr. President, shall we?
Man turned to a foreign executive next to him. He apparently understood English as he made a sour face and put down the documents he was holding. At that moment, I remembered Sarah's efforts over the past few months. How she talked about wanting people to enjoy her tours. How she worked tirelessly on proposals, often losing track of time. She'd even gone on location visits to ensure tourists could fully enjoy the attractions. This can't end here. I handed the laptop to my senior colleague and Sarah, then stepped onto the stage. The attendees were either chatting or checking their phones. Still, I took a deep breath, undeterred. It's okay. I have all of Sarah's script memorized. I apologize. It seems our computers got stage fright. Don't worry, I'm better at speaking than they are. Please look at page 1 of your materials. At my first words in English, the man from earlier snapped his head up. The president, other employees, everyone was looking at me, and as instructed, they turned to their materials. My English seemed to have gotten through correctly. Where would you all like to travel? To somewhere fun, right? My follow-up in French caused someone sitting at the edge to exclaim. You speak French? I replied in French. Yes, though it's quite modest. Well, I tried being traditionally modest like a Japanese person there. How was that? Perfect! Good to hear. Maybe I should become a tour conductor too. That would be wonderful! While those who don't understand French look confused, I politely switched back to English with an excuse me, before continuing in my recently learned Chinese. I was just having him grade my French. Seems I passed. Once my Chinese gets a passing grade too, I'll start pitching to our Chinese clients as well. The nameplate of the person I made eye contact with indicated they were Chinese. As expected, they responded to my Chinese. I couldn't see the reactions of Sarah and the others standing right next to me, but employees from other companies, including Derek, were wide-eyed. Derek might be surprised since I couldn't speak Chinese when I was at his company. Well, let's set aside the small talk and begin the presentation. Switching back to English, I continued the presentation, occasionally adding jokes to dispel the earlier irritation of the attendees. I recalled the materials, sharing interesting facts about the tourist spots shown in the photos. Then, right on schedule, I delivered the closing remarks and bowed. The attendees burst into applause as if they had witnessed a special performance. I must have conveyed everything necessary. Leaving the rest to Sarah, I stepped down from the podium. While the competition results would be announced later, the president himself approached me as we were leaving.
Your speech was very entertaining. Hope you'll bring that same joy to many people on our company's tours.
When I translated his English comments for some colleagues who couldn't understand, they were overjoyed. Having achieved success somehow, after returning to the office, Sarah called me to the conference room. Ryan, I don't know how to thank you enough. She seemed quite down. After preparing everything perfectly, an unexpected computer malfunctioned. It must be frustrating. We're teammates. Covering for each other is natural. Really useless. After all that big talk, I ended up having to be rescued by you. Both computers' malfunction was beyond our control. They're still not working. Even after returning from the competition, neither of Sarah's laptops would turn on. They were handed over to the IT department to investigate the cause. I should have prepared better. Printed scripts, slides, everything. Such a rookie mistake. Meanwhile, your quick thinking was amazing. To think you had memorized the script. Well, we did work on it together. That's not all. The way you utilize those languages. So you can speak French too. Yes. This competition, I kept relying on your help. I need to become more self-sufficient. Sarah's self-deprecating smile made me feel uncomfortable. Aren't you going to say looking forward to working together? What do you mean? Well, not to brag, but if you utilize me well, we could win future competitions too. That's meaningless, Sarah stated firmly. If I don't win competitions through my own abilities, how can I confidently offer tours? Only once my own achievement can I take pride in it. The words hit me like a bolt of lightning. She was different from any colleague or supervisor I'd worked with before. I've been avoiding telling you the truth about something. About your language abilities? Yes. Will you tell me about it? Because you're different from others. I explained how due to my parents' work, I had spent my childhood moving around various countries. Many were English-speaking countries, so both Japanese and English were equally present in my life. When my parents' work stabilized and we settled in America, I was shocked. None of my peers could speak a foreign language properly. They could barely manage reading and writing. Well, I wondered why they couldn't do something so simple. I hadn't realized it then that it was due to our different upbringing environments, and I naturally used my language skills publicly. The textbooks felt like children's books to me. Naturally, my classmates relied on me. They begged to see my homework, asked for study tips before tests. As a child, I enjoyed sharing my knowledge and happily accepted the request. Eventually, I became accustomed to being used by others. I didn't realize this was a problematic until college, during a French major group project, when team members pushed everything onto me: leadership, document creation, and even the presentation. When I asked why I had to do everything, they all said the same thing. Well, you're good at English, right? I thought English and French were different things, but they saw it differently. They assumed that someone who could use English was naturally gifted in all languages. Even a class meant to improve language skills, they chose the easy path of good grades. The results were treated as the team's collective achievement, and my work became others' accomplishments. Being cleverly used, I finally realized it then. Still, since it was just a student project and wasn't particularly difficult, I convinced myself it was more efficient to handle everything myself. In this state, I landed a job at a travel agency. By then, I could handle French too, and was valued as a trilingual speaker of English, Japanese, and French. At first, I was generally happy that my abilities were useful, and that I was entrusted with many tasks, but it didn't last long. It started about a year after joining, with a work request from my direct superior, Derek. He had asked me to create a proposal in English because he wasn't good at it. Since he had helped me since I joined, I gladly accepted. Satisfied with my work, Derek then asked me to help with other tasks. Helping with his work alongside my own was quite demanding and led to overtime. Still, when proposals were accepted and became actual products, the joy was unmatched. So I worked without complaint. The situation worsened a year later. When I had gained enough experience to view the company from a broader perspective, Derek had been promoted to department manager, and I was still working under him. The workload he passed to me had increased, and while checking past documents for reference, I was stunned. On the approval documents for proposals I had been 90% involved in, only Derek's names appeared. I heard he hadn't been performing well before I joined. Suspicious, I checked other reports and proposals, only to find my name had been removed and replaced with Derek's everywhere. True, Derek handled the first submissions to superiors, and he was technically the project manager. However, the ideas, research, and proposals were all my preparation. Besides, Derek couldn't even create English documents. I went to find Derek to ask what was going on. I found him in the smoking area, talking with the director.
Foster, that Paris tour proposal you submitted this morning was excellent.
That proposal was also my work.
Thank you, sir. I actually have a contact here, so I asked around.
Derek's words were exactly what I had said. That tour was created based on information from my father's colleague who had helped me during childhood. Excuse me. I couldn't help but approach them. Derek looked slightly panicked, but quickly composed himself.
Ryan, what's up? Want to smoke?
No, I need to ask you something. The Paris tour proposal you were just talking about. I created that, didn't I?
Yes, you helped me with it. Thanks for that.
Helped? It was far more than that, but the director nodded firmly at Derek's words.
It's the fruit of your guidance, Foster.
Come on, sir. Don't praise me too much. It'll go to my head.
While the two were chatting amicably, I tried to interject. Not just that, but the Yellowstone tour before, and the European plan before that. Those are my proposals too, weren't they?
That's not a good attitude.
Suddenly the director reprimanded me.
Work isn't done alone. We cooperate as a team to achieve results. Trying to claim all the credit for yourself is disappointing.
I was stunned by the director's words. Was he saying this without knowing anything? But Mr. Foster got promoted because of these proposal achievements.
Of course he did. He's the manager. He's being evaluated on his ability to lead the team.
After adding that I should learn from Foster and not be self-centered, I couldn't say anything more. No, I didn't want to say anything more. With supervisors like these, no matter how hard I worked, I'd just be used for their convenience. My achievements would be absorbed into someone else's evaluation. My distrust in people who clung to my abilities and those who evaluated them reached its peak. Within a month, I quit that company. Fortunately, thanks to my language skills, I quickly found my next job, my current company. Here, there's no one like them who would steal my accomplishments. Of course, that's because I wasn't putting my all into work and was deliberately hiding my language abilities. If working hard would only serve someone else's promotion, then effort was pointless. That's what I thought, but watching Sarah has shown me how enjoyable it can be to work hard and be recognized. I did want to do work that makes people happy at first, but somewhere along the way, I became too focused on evaluations. You were right to quit that company, Sarah said, sounding slightly angry. Of course, enjoying work is important, but it's natural to lose motivation if your achievements aren't properly recognized. That director was completely failing as an evaluator. But I was wrong too. If I communicated better with them, maybe things wouldn't have turned out that way. Then you can apply that lesson at this workplace. There's no one here who would steal others' achievements, at least not while I'm here. What reassuring words. I actually enjoyed preparing for this competition. Watching you pour your heart into what you want to do, it was contagious somehow. Hearing that makes me happier than anything as a supervisor. Ryan, you don't need to hold back anymore. Don't suppress yourself. Do what you want to. Just then, Sarah's phone rang. Excuse me for a moment. She took her phone from her pocket. Mitchell from Summit Tour speaking. Yes? What? Yes, I'll be right there. After hanging up, Sarah grabbed my arm and left the conference room. What happened? They found out what caused the computer problems. We're going back to the competition venue. Was the cause at the venue? Not the venue exactly, but one of the participants. Hearing the details on the way, I couldn't believe my ears. Apparently, Derek was behind Sarah's computer problems. He had planted a powerful magnet under the desk that could damage electronic devices after his presentation. He was caught trying to retrieve it secretly by a Rose Group employee. When Sarah and I arrived, the meeting room's atmosphere completely changed. There was Derek hanging his head, and familiar supervisors from my former company, and the Rose Group members. The coordinator approached us to explain the situation. When caught red-handed, Derek was questioned by those around him and confessed to sabotaging us. And his superiors were called. The situation was explained again, and here we were.
Miss Mitchell has arrived.
The coordinator brought us in front of Derek and the others. It is true.
It's Ryan's fault.
Abandoning his previous meek attitude, he shouted while pointing at me.
Because this guy betrayed us and left the company. My work efficiency dropped. Performance stagnated. He just left on his own. You know how much trouble that caused? Even this competition, if it weren't for you, we would have won.
So you feared Ryan's abilities and sabotaged us? Sarah glared at Derek with anger I'd never heard in her voice before. Does it feel good to trample on others' efforts? Since you've been doing it all along, maybe you don't feel anything anymore.
What do you know about me?
At least I know you can't do anything without Ryan. Taking credit for his achievements. Who really betrayed whom?
Ryan worked under my instructions. I didn't take credit.
This incident is proof enough, isn't it? Sarah handed her business card to Derek's superior. This is who I am. We'll be seeing each other in court, so I look forward to working with you.
Court?
Well, business interference, property damage. Filing a lawsuit is only natural, right? They couldn't argue with her logical points. The incident eventually developed into a civil lawsuit, and Derek was fired for violating various conduct policies. Given the ongoing lawsuit, finding new employment seems unlikely. Well, even after the lawsuit ends, social rehabilitation won't be easy. As expected, I heard through the grapevine that Derek is now living modestly while dealing with debt. Meanwhile, Sarah's success in the competition, combined with her previous achievements, secured her promotion. What's more, my significant contribution was recognized, and I was promoted too. Of course, my language abilities became known, and we were both assigned to overseas positions. This will make local research so much easier. Sarah seems delighted. Now we're living together at a new assignment location. While I respect Sarah for dramatically changing my life, I had also unknowingly developed romantic feelings for her as a person. She says she was drawn to my dedication too. I used to think effort wouldn't benefit me, but there were people who would properly recognize it. While I wish I had opened up earlier but without prejudice, I lacked the courage without a trigger. From now on, I'll trust people more and work to properly evaluate my subordinates too. In this company, I'm sure things will work out.